Hello everybody. So today I have a long video for you, and the video is titled Tesla in 2030, a fiction. And why do I call it a fiction? Why do I talk about 2030? That is because I have been tired over the past 2 days by the short-termism on Tesla. There's a lot of appalling videos out there of people going after Elon Musk, going after Tesla. Nonsense. It's gotten total nonsense to the negativity, to the downside. The headlines are negative. Everything's so negative. Even the biggest Tesla fans are negative. For example, you can probably watch this video in Yahoo Finance. Extremely negative. I think a lot of the comments are unwarranted. Everybody seems to be focused on the short term right now, which is why I'm making this video as a counterweight. This video is a counterweight where I'm only going to be talking to you about the very, very long term and the future. And therefore, this is a fiction. And I'm perfectly comfortable telling you that this is a fiction, and I'm going to get a lot wrong, but I'm also going to underestimate a lot of what may happen for Tesla. Right now, everybody thinks we have horrible news, horrible target. The latest I've been reading, serious news, is that, Tesla may only grow delivery by 40% next year. So that would leave them slightly behind their 50% target because they are slightly ahead right now. So they would have to catch up in 2025. Imagine that, right? 18 months from now, what's going on? I mean, that's crazy, right? We'd be late. Oh, gosh. Anyways, that's not what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm not going to talk about the short-term nonsense. I'm going to talk about the vision for Tesla, what Tesla is, in my view, likely to become, and why Tesla is above 30%, above one third of my portfolio. Tesla has 7 years until they reach this future that I'm going to discuss, this vision, right? And I don't care if it's at the beginning of 2030 or at the end of 2030 or maybe 2031 or 2032. Doesn't really change much when they reach this, in my view. This is the story of where I see Tesla headed. This is a story that I'm having, just like some, including me for some of these stocks, including Amazon, but others who were investing younger than me, a longer time ago than me, may have had about stocks like Apple, for example. Right? People were seeing Apple in 2007. Unfortunately, I was too young to invest in 2007. But Bitcoin, a lot of people have had early visions of Bitcoin, and we are headed there, right? And if you go back in the earlier days, you have, time-honored companies, wonderful companies who have had wonderful runs of more than 100 years. A few that come to mind include IBM, Disney, Ford. We're really going way back in time. But back in their day, these stocks too, you could see a clear path to the future and a clear future. And in my view, Tesla is one of these assets. Tesla belongs with these grand companies. Tesla has been the best asset of the 2010s. It continues to be the best asset of the 2020s, and in my view, it will continue to be one of the best assets out there that outperform, and 30% of my money is on Tesla. So I don't cover it much on the channel, but I have a clear vision as to why I own this stock. And I realize it's a blurry stock, and it's blurry, and it's tough to imagine how big the future could be. But the future, in my view, is very bright. And this company is nowhere near maturity, even if they only grow at 40% next year or 37% next year, as I calculated in my prior video. Even if they grow deliveries at 37% next year, it is not the catastrophe that all of a short-termism as you believe. So let's travel to 2030 and let me begin my fiction about Tesla, my story about Tesla. So the year is 2030, sometime in 2030, early or late. 2030 doesn't really matter. In 2030, the Roadster never came out. It was always too low of a volume. Model X and Model S have been discontinued. They take too many attentional resources for Tesla and for Fremont, and they use too many scarce engineer resources and factory line. And so Model X and Model S are gone. They have disappeared. they were meaningless to profits anyways and to volume anyways, as they are already mostly meaningless today, right, in 2023. Teslas in 2030 are very much like iPhones, and they come in three sizes. You have the Model Y. The Model Y is the equivalent of the iPhone Pro. The Model Y is for enthusiasts. It is their all-out model. That's what the Model Y is. Then you have the Model 3. The Model 3 is the best seller in North America, where car sizes are bigger. It's also the best seller for families around the world, where the Model 3 is enough, right? In Europe, the Model 3 is a big car. For the rest of the world, their most popular model is the Model 2. The Model 2, they sell, 8, 10 million of them per year in 2030. The Model 2 is the leading model in Europe, in India, right? Tesla has already built a gigafactory in India by 2030, in Japan. The Model 2 is the most popular product out there, where cars tend to be smaller. And this is a rendering of what a Model 2 could look like, right? The equivalent of, say, a Volkswagen Golf in terms of size, or a Ford Focus, or Toyota Corolla, a compact one. This is what the Model 2 will look like, and this will be the main car for Tesla, which they have not made yet. Cybertrucks and other variants have taken the place of Model S today as the minor vehicle. Cybertruck, in my view, will be a minor vehicle for Tesla. And other variants of the Cybertrucks will be there to accommodate specific needs. So, of course, a lot of blue-collar workers will adopt the truck, but not only, right? You could have a large family version of a Cybertruck that you can imagine, where you can have, 8, 7 people in the car. You could have an RV version of a Cybertruck. You could have a delivery van version of a Cybertruck. Cybertruck and other variants will just be the smaller part of the business. The bulk of the business, in my view, in 2030 will be Model Y, Model 3, and Model 2. Model 2 being the biggest. Model 2 is not out yet. And the total sales, I have no reason to believe that they're not going to reach it. 20 million cars by 2030 is their target, and I believe they will stick to it. And this is a vision of the future. They've achieved it. Moving on. What happens to cars in 2030? Well, cars in 2030 are significantly better than today in many, many aspects. Only two aspects I want to highlight is, of course, the long-range models in 2030 are 1,500 miles plus. Batteries are cheap. China is dumping batteries on the world. The 4680 battery plants have scaled for Teslas. Batteries are dirt cheap. They have become a commodity. And so it's very easy to put so many of them in cars such that you get a 1,500-mile range. This makes gas cars entirely ridiculous and obsolete, when you can just go to the state next door, visit your family, and come back and not even have to worry about charging. Cars obviously drive themselves. FSD has long been solved. And I'll cover this at the end of the video when I talk about AI. Right? Teslas become major software platforms. They are a software platform, a computer on wheel. The computer on wheel platform, just like iOS and Android, is the platform for phones. And Tesla, as a major software platform, of course, becomes a major hub for work and entertainment. And they take a fee, right? Whenever you want to sell a word editing or a game on Tesla cars for entertainment, you have an idea for an app for a Tesla car, well, you gotta pay your 20 or 30% platform fee if you sell on the Tesla platform. You want to sell Netflix on Tesla and have Netflix shows on Tesla, Tesla takes a cut. They are developing their software platform for their cars, keeping in mind that people spend a lot of time in cars, especially on trips. You could see a future where the time spent in your car is, for example, more meaningful than the time spent on a tablet, for example. Cars act as money makers in 2030. And they do that in two main ways. One main way, of course, is to enter your car as part of an automated ride-sharing system or an automated car rental system. So you can either rent your car. Let's say you go on vacation, you go somewhere in Europe for 2 weeks, your car is not being used. You can rent it on a Turo-like platform to someone who wants to have a car for a week or two. That's one aspect. Another aspect, we don't know where this is headed, but another aspect is you could elect your car to participate in the ride-sharing network. and then Tesla could use your car in the ride-sharing network. I'm talking 2030. I'm not talking about a rollout of robotaxis, but I'm talking 2030. That's a second way to make money with your car. A third way to make money with your car, of course, is the grid energy trading and grid energy resale, because your car will have a multi-hundred kilowatt hour battery that will be able to store energy and resell energy. And so you could use your car as energy backup from the grid and resell battery whenever the intermittent cost of energy rises and goes up. So these are ways where car better. They make money. They are software platforms. They drive themselves. They have outstanding range. This is 2030 for Tesla, in my view. What about the competition? What happens to the competition in Tesla? Well, unfortunately, despite my great April Fool's video where I was all excited to tell you about the Celestiq and a car as unique as its owner, unfortunately in 2030, in my fiction, the Celestiq didn't make it. It was too expensive. Turned out not enough people wanted a car for $300,000. They never made it. It never, ever caught on. In fact, luxury cars are not really a thing anymore in 2030. Just like luxury phones are not a thing in 2020, right? Luxury phones are not a thing, but iPhone is the standard. Why would luxury cars be a thing in the future? I don't think they're going to be a thing. Just like Virtue, for example, in terms of phones, they had luxury phones in the 2000s. Those luxury phones got disrupted by the mass market, mass volume product. When you mass market a product and make it mass volume, luxury doesn't make sense anymore because you don't have that trade-off between quality and cost anymore, because the scale eliminates that trade-off, where you can have a product that is both the best quality and the best cost. What's going on with the competition in 2030? Well, in 2030, the topic of gas cars versus EVs is a common topic of political debates. 5 years from now, many states and many countries around the world are banning gas cars, and there's a lot of calls and a lot of political conflict to try to get those countries to extend that deadline and not ban gas cars by 2035. One of the leading call for expanding the deadline of 2035 for banning gas cars is Big Detroit Auto. Big Auto was not successful in the transition. And they're pressuring, this is kind of a joke, but I'm having fun here. They're pressuring Pete Buttigieg in his second year of presidency, right? Who got elected in 2028. Pete Buttigieg. He got elected in 2030, and they're pressuring him. They're like, hey, we want another bailout. You know, all of the IRA money we got, I know we know we got $80 billion from IRA already, but that's not enough. We need a $300 billion bailout for the transition, because we don't even get to production scale on the GM Celestiq. We're an American brand. We want a bailout. We don't want to have the same fate as Lucid and Rivian. Bail us out. And for many of these brands, it would be the second bailout. That's part of the debate, along with the debate with gas cars. Big debate in 2030. Tesla and NVIDIA software runs cars from just about everybody in 2030. Whether it's Big Detroit Auto, whether it's the German auto, the Japanese auto, these cars are run by software. Very much like today, if you buy an Android, there's lots of different Android phones you can buy as far as hardware goes. But the software is the same. The software is Google software. It's Android. I believe the same will happen for Teslas. For Tesla software, with the key difference is that if you look at Apple only builds software for its product. I believe that Elon has shown that he's in the sharing economy type of person, and he has no problem sharing. And so I believe there will be vehicles that are not made by Tesla that are run by Tesla software. So I believe Elon Musk will take the route of Microsoft, where Microsoft makes its own laptops, and you can buy a Microsoft branded laptop, but you can also buy another brand. The same, I believe, will be true for Tesla. You'll be able to buy the Tesla software with Tesla vehicle, but also run the Tesla software on non-Tesla vehicles. And then the other software, in my view, will be NVIDIA. NVIDIA is investing heavily in there. And so you could have some vehicles run by NVIDIA and some vehicles run by Tesla. I think we have enough evidence right now to know that both Google and Apple will not be the leading software for cars, in my view. And if you look at the partnerships that Legacy Auto have done with NVIDIA, it seems clear to me that it's going to be NVIDIA versus Tesla as far as autos go. And the big debate in 2030, as far as the competition, is the software fees. Tesla and NVIDIA are taking too high of a fees. They're taking all of the profits of these automakers because a car is mostly software. Hardware doesn't matter nearly as much as software does in 2030. And then you have antitrust lawsuits that emerge against Tesla and NVIDIA, mostly in Europe, but also becoming in style in the USA. So just like you have anti-suit today against Google in Europe, you're going to have anti-suit against Tesla and NVIDIA in Europe because these companies just become powerful, too powerful, and they are not European. And that's the tragedy of Europe. And because these companies are too powerful and not European, you'll have a lot of lawsuits and call for antitrust and saying, oh, that's not fair what Tesla is doing. They are the leader. What NVIDIA is doing is not fair. They are the leader, and we don't have a European leader. And then you'll see some of these antitrust emerge in the US, just like it is emerging today for Amazon and for companies like Google. And of course, antitrust, oftentimes, as we know, is the best thing that could happen to shareholders, right? If you look at Standard Oil and Rockefeller, how did Rockefeller develop most of his wealth? Well, he became particularly wealthy when the regulator split Standard Oil into 16 different companies with 16 different stocks and 16 different quotations that were able to realize their own potential. This is an endless debate in business. Should you split the company in multiple different entities to realize the full potential of the company? So, this we'll see where this goes. But I believe in 2030 you'll have a lot of antitrust debates. Transportation again, semi-trucks. Where will semi-trucks be? Well, in my view, the Tesla market share for semi-trucks will be much higher than for cars. I think they will have a much higher electric truck market share, because when it comes to EVs, the market share, in my view, for Tesla EV will be 20% in 2030. But for their truck, I see this as twice higher. And why is that? Why do I see their success with electric trucks twice better than their success with cars? Well, because right now, today, in 2023, you can see there's much less capital being invested in trucks. I mean, Tesla is essentially the only game in town for trucks. Nikola turned out to be largely a scam. A lot of legacy truck makers are behind. They are going through the same story as legacy automakers, and the only real competition for electric trucks is the Chinese competition. And so I believe that the EV market share for Tesla for trucks will be much greater than it will for cars, and it will especially much greater than it is for car. That trucks, the savings from buying an electric truck will be much more obvious to companies than the savings from buying an electric car to households, which are already very compelling. Right? These trucks pay for themselves much quicker because, of course, a commercial vehicle gets driven around much more often than a private vehicle, than a personal vehicle. Also, Tesla, I believe, will shine with semi-trucks because the FSD is obviously going to be very different for these big machines, and they have the most data. They've been collecting the most real-world data in 2030 on these trucks, and they have the better system. Lastly, Tesla has been single-handedly solving and working on the issue of charging trucks. And how do you charge a truck? Well, fueling a tank of gas on a big truck is a good 10 minutes? Well, I believe Tesla trucks will be able to be charged with mega chargers at perhaps a minute, perhaps 2 minutes. All you need is to have these cooled cables that unload 1.5 megawatt into the charger. So very, very, very high tension, very, very, very high electricity, very high powered cables that are cooled. The cable is cool itself. It's refrigerated cable that you can plug into your truck and charge your truck at really unheard of speeds. And I think that's where we are headed. We are headed in a world where when these chargers are paired with megapacks, all of a sudden it is possible to have 1 megawatt instant go through this cable and charge the truck at really incredible speeds. And I believe that's also where we're headed for the more premium charging stations for say Cybertrucks, etc., etc., etc. Charging will be much faster and will get much better because of how much power you can throw into these cables. How about transportation the future in 2030? So I'm talking about here the discussion. What discussion will we have about the future vehicles in 2030? And I believe in today we are talking about electrifying cars and electrifying trucks and pickup trucks. In 2030, electrification of cars will be well on its way. And so Tesla will be looking at the future. And in 2030, what will the future look like? Well, I believe in 2030, the future will look like electrifications of EVtols, boats, and planes. And EVtols, of course, have always been electric. But Tesla, I believe, will make a serious plan to try to electrify boats and, to a lesser extent, planes. And so could we see container ships, cruise ships, major boats being equipped with megapacks and oversized version of electric engines? And so you would have a boat which, instead of being powered by diesel, would actually be powered by electric, by batteries and megapacks and battery packs, knowing that many ships today are already electrified. Those turbines are powered with electricity, but the electricity is oftentimes made with diesel engines. So it's a question of a battery. It's a question of energy density. When you have energy density, Tesla will be able to equip ships with batteries that are big enough in order to be able to power movement. And of course, the best batteries out there, the ultra high density batteries out there, those that actually still use lithium in 2030, because most batteries in common applications are going to move away from lithium, because lithium is an expensive resource. But the highest density batteries will keep using lithium and perhaps even silicon, and if you use those materials in your batteries, you're going to get density that is going to get closer and closer to the density of oil and gas. And when you get that density to be closer and closer, then new types of vehicles become possible, like realistic EVtols. That's one way you could do it. And so EVtols, have very specific applications. Like the last 200 miles, for example, when you fly. That's a clear application of an EVtol. Tesla could get into that space. Delivery space, EVtols have a lot of applications, deliveries. And of course, Tesla, while I don't really foresee Tesla making a commercial plane, it's too heavily regulated. I do foresee Tesla partnering with plane makers on batteries and seeing how they can do and help and actually provide batteries. The future of transportation has everything to do with the future of batteries. And my view and my bet is that Tesla will be a leader in batteries, not only because they're getting into refining, they're getting into mining, they're getting into supply chain securization and securing that supply chain. They're getting into manufacturing at scale. And because of that, the premium battery maker in these next-gen applications, I believe, will be Tesla. Tesla will be one of these premium battery makers. Maybe not the only one, but definitely one of them. And that's part of the future of transportation for Tesla in 2030. Let me move on again to transportation in 2030, the maintenance network. So Tesla has done everything it can to maintain its own network of car repairs and car shops and collision walk and service walk. But in 2030, this looks very different. In 2030, EV repairs are very rare because there's very seldom any accident. Right, so it's very rare, and when it happens, you typically need to replace the full car because the full car is probably not repairable. So, because of that, a lot of the maintenance work of Tesla service centers becomes things like changing tires and repairing windshield in case there's hail or anything like that. And so that's the bulk of the work for maintenance network for Tesla, and I believe they will own most of that market. Collision work will be very rare in my view due to FSD. They'll do their best to maintain the business in-house, right? And be this vertically integrated company that owns much of the business. And I believe a maintenance network or a service network, whatever you want to call it, will see a new business in the form of car customization, where most factory cars, when they get out, they'll have a very limited amount of colors, white, gray, maybe red, and stainless steel. And of course, some customers will want to wrap their cars in different colors, different performance wraps, and I believe this will be a major business, so a new business for the service center of Tesla, right? Where Tesla is perhaps the only company that's able to properly install a new color on your car, and we saw them do this first move. So the very nature of the car repair business or a car repair shop is going to change, and I see this as a clear difference in 2030. Now let me move on to Tesla Energy. So what does Tesla, and we were doing Tesla transportation, right? So what does Tesla Energy look like in 2030? So before I talk about Tesla Energy, it's important to understand that Elon has stated that Tesla Energy will be bigger than the transportation business. I don't know if it will be bigger than the AI business, but certainly it will be bigger than the transportation business. And if you follow the channel, I'm very bullish on energy because energy underlies everything we do. It is the main input in the economy. That's energy. So Tesla has a lot going on in energy, and I think in 2030, they will be an absolute leader. So first of all, the Powerwalls. If you follow the home backup system, you know that Tesla Powerwall is the number one home backup system out there. It is the most liked home backup system, and they are a pioneer in the sector. They're actually probably 5 years early compared to, say, Enphase. I believe they will continue to be the home backup system, to be the leading home backup system, but their backup system is going to get much better, giving your home up to a full week of energy as batteries ramp and get cheaper and better. And if you pair it with a car, with a dual charger, with a two-way charger with your car, then you can get up to 1 month of energy for your house. And of course, you can pair it with multiple cars. And I believe that's the energy independence future that we're going to get with the Powerwalls. Each house is going to have a Powerwall, which is going to be just like a mini megapack. Powerwall from Tesla will be able to be integrated with all sorts of different panel makers and inverter makers as it already does today. And I believe we will have a system where solar energy and Powerwalls, mix and match. We will keep having this mix and match system for a long while, I believe, because a Tesla owner, for example, may be more inclined to get the Tesla megapack and the Tesla Powerwall, for example, but they may not be as compelled, for example, by Tesla's solar technology, or simply the Tesla solar technology may still not be available in some of their areas, and so they have to go with someone else for their solar. But Powerwalls will be prevalent. Will they be as prevalent as people have cars? Say if Tesla sells 20 million cars, can they reasonably expect to sell 20 million power homes, assuming that each car buyer also owns a house? I believe this is maybe even an understatement. They could sell more of these than they sell cars by 2030, as these will become essential for storing your energy at night, the energy that you produce on your roof. And I believe in the convergence of battery technology and solar technology. Tesla is not a leader in solar, but it is a leader in battery, and that's undeniable. Now let's talk about solar. Tesla has had a lot of issues with solar. They are not a leader. They did not pick the right technology, and they did not pick the right strategy. The solar tile has proven to be very difficult to ramp as good as it looks, and it looks very good on a roof. It's proven to be very, very difficult to ramp, and Tesla just started this year to start building a network of installers, of hyperlocal installers, and try to compete with third-party installers. In the past, Tesla was trying to be vertically integrated. I believe in 2030, they will be largely successful with a network of installers, and you'll have a network of solar installers who will carry SolarEdge, Enphase, and Tesla. And then the competition, at the dining room table, as they say, when you try to sell a solar system, the competition, in my view, will likely be between those three companies, between Tesla, SolarEdge, and Enphase. in my view, when it comes to Tesla, Tesla will remain the leader when it comes to the battery. They will remain the cheapest price when it comes to the battery, but they may not have the best prices when it comes to solar in 2030 because they are so far behind today in solar. And so that's why I don't have any issue imagining mix and match system where you have the Tesla battery and you have the Tesla charger and the Tesla car, but you have a solar edge or an Enphase system on your roof. Tesla's home energy systems, especially the battery, in my view, will be a very easy sell for Tesla. And provided that they can supply enough solar, and especially their solar tile, they will be a very fierce competitor for fully integrated system, a fierce competitor to Solar Edge and Enphase. They'll be a fierce competitor. And Solar Edge and Enphase will be more of a neutral ground when they're trying to sell to the owner of, say, a Ford electric vehicle. But I believe they will be the third player because it is only logical, but their entry into the solar market is not going to be done through the inverter. Just like Solar Edge and Enphase who entered the solar market through the inverter, Tesla, in my view, will enter the solar market through the battery. And this is battery's prime time right now. This is the prime time of home energy battery in the solar system market. And so I believe Tesla will begin to shine on this. Tesla, I see becoming a leading utility and virtual power plant provider in states with deregulated electric grids. And this is important for what I'm about to say next. But before that, there's another thing that Tesla, I believe, will shine on. So as I said, Powerwalls for your house, solar, Tesla solar, and AC and heat pumps. And we've known this for a long time. Elon has expressed an interest in this. And the whole idea is that the HVAC systems in our homes has not evolved since the 1950s. I mean, AC units are largely the same as they were in the 1950s. They are highly, highly inefficient. And Tesla's heat pumps in their cars has gotten a lot of praise, and they have a lot of expertise in heat pumps. And so it's only logical that Tesla would develop a heat pump, and AC is just an heat pump, a heat pump that takes care of you both in the winter and in the summer. And so I believe if Tesla builds a supplier network a distributor network where you sell Powerwalls, where you sell solar, and you have this network of installers, then it's very easy for you to tack on another product, which would be the Tesla HVAC system or AC unit or heat pump or whatever they want to call it. They might even find a new name to entirely set themselves apart from the competition. And of course, why would Tesla get into this? Because their heat pumps are much, much, much more efficient design than the traditional heat pump that you would say get from a carrier. You know, AC units have not changed in half a century. And I believe this is where Tesla could shine and actually change those systems. And this, of course, if you had the Tesla AC unit / heat pump, in your home, of course, this could have seamless integration with a Tesla Powerwall and seamless integration again with a Tesla electric utility. And this is going to come next when I talk about this. All of these systems can work together and manage excess energy and be outlets for your excess energy. And this is, I think, going to be a big part of the future managing energy. Let me talk about another one, right? Another one that I'm going to talk about is the charging network. So Tesla, in my view, is going to have the leading charging network. Their charging network will be bigger than most gas station chains. It will be the biggest network of charging in the US and will replace gas stations. Tesla will, in my view, make more money from non-Tesla owners than Tesla owners on their charging network. And that's why this was a master move to allow other automakers to use the charging network. And in my view, in the long term, this will make more money for them. And supplying that electricity to anybody who doesn't own a Tesla really means you're going to have a huge market. They will do it in a way such that the Ford owner or the Volkswagen owner does not feel out of place charging their car at the Tesla. And this is going to be mostly because the car already operates with Tesla software, or because they already have a Tesla app, or because they are connected to Tesla in one way or another. The switch will be easy for legacy car buyers, in my view, because your Ford car may run the Tesla software. And then it looks like a win-win situation where both Tesla and both Ford wins. Right? That's the way of doing business today. That's cooperation. Cooperation business is a better way to do business today than just outright destruction through head-to-head competition. And that's why I believe we'll see a lot of cooperation between Tesla and traditional automakers. And Tesla, of course, another ancillary business to this is that they're going to be earning royalties from all sorts of local stores, restaurants, coffee shops, who want to set up on those charging stations and those charging ports. And that's, I think, an understated part of the Tesla business that they're going to have. Is Tesla going to have a side business like a McDonald's, where they own real estate and where they own the land underlying the distribution of food? I believe this could be a fair way to look at it and see as where we're headed. And this is where everything, in my view, comes together. Is the whole energy markets and the Tesla energy market. So what's going to be the Tesla energy market? Well, we're going to have energy sharing, and energy is going to be shared between electric vehicles, between megapacks, which I'll talk about in a minute, electric vehicles, megapacks, Powerwalls, right? And between outlets for that electricity. That is cooling or heating our homes and charging our electric cars. And I see a clear vision for what I mean, the only way I could call it is Tesla's energy empire, where they manage electricity, right? And so you have a sunny day and most of your Tesla roofs, installed on millions of homes get too much solar that day. Well, Tesla can manage that excess energy at scale and decide to direct that energy, say, towards the charging stations, or say towards the heat pumps that are installed in homes to try to push people to pre-cool or preheat their homes. It can also direct that energy towards megapacks, and these megapacks to store that energy, say, for multiple months from now. It can also direct that energy towards, and this is the future that I really believe we're headed, is this national electricity battery. We're going to have a national electric battery, in my view. And in 2030, what if you have 80 million cars in the US that have batteries of, say, 100 kilowatt each? So 80 million cars times 100 kilowatt each, right? And what if you have 5 million megapacks and 20 million Powerwalls? That creates a national stock of energy that is going to be managed, that is going to need to be managed. And what I envision in this national stock of energy is that maybe we'll have a little more energy in the summer in this stock of energy, and maybe a little less energy in the winter. And I believe Tesla could act as a layer for transferring and managing that energy as they are becoming utilities in deregulated utility states. So Tesla could easily move energy that is stored into cars to its charging station, its power station, move energy from a company to another. That's why the Tesla energy vision is so relevant. The whole concept of energy trading and trading energy between different parties is very, very relevant. Here's another thing they could do. They could shift energy production. So what could happen is you could be a Tesla energy customer, home energy customer, and say if you produce your energy, you get a credit with a Tesla electric utility, and that credit then allows you to use that energy in the future at a supercharger or in the future in the winter. And if you do that, you entirely remove transactions around energy costs, and you don't have transactions. It's just you're saving your own energy for your own future, or you're saving your energy in one place for another place. Or you could imagine, say, the classic scenario of you're a household, you have a big house, a big solar roof, and you have a college student on the other side of the country. Well, could you use energy credits that you get in this side of the country, right, and transfer those credits to, say, your son, daughter on the other side of the country so that they can use energy and charge their megapack? And of course you add AI to this. And when you add AI to this, you have even more convergence. And so I believe we'll have a convergence that will make insane profits for Tesla, because Tesla may get access to very, very, very cheap energy depending on the time of the day, say at night, right? Energy is very cheap, depending on the time of the year, depending on how many people elect to sell electricity as opposed to get credits. I believe you could have a tremendous link between energy and profits, and even more as I get into AI. You may know that the most important thing in AI is energy, right? The biggest cost to AI is energy, and when you'll see AI, and I add AI to this, there is a tremendous convergence, right? Where maybe one day the difficulty on the Bitcoin network has dropped by say 20%. Because I don't know if there's been a storm somewhere and Bitcoin miners are off. And Tesla AI could detect that drop in difficulty, direct that energy towards data centers, and data centers could be mining Bitcoin with that energy. There's so many different ways, so many different uses for that energy that we don't really see yet. But that, in my view, will create a tremendous amount of money for Tesla. I'm very bullish on this. The last part of the market is, of course, the megapacks, right? And just like our homes, we'll have Powerwalls, in my view. You will have, schools, hospitals, apartment complexes, renewable plants, warehouses, industrial complexes having megapacks installed all over. And I believe Tesla will remain the number one producer of battery megapacks. Keep in mind, the expansion of these megapacks will be even more common because of what I'm calling here mega charging or giga charging, whatever you want to call it. But when you have a 1.5 megawatt charger, you have no choice. You will need one of these megapacks to power these chargers. So that's another convergence that will push the adoption of these megapacks. And I believe this will be very, very prevalent. And as far as the market, where I see the market headed for this, to me, Tesla will remain the number one, and then there will be a lot of Chinese makers that will compete against Tesla, as they already do. But I don't anticipate this will change much. That's 2030 for you. And now let's move on to the meat of this video. Really, the crazy part of this video, which is the AI. So here's where it goes in the consensus, right? So most Wall Street analysts think Tesla is a car company, and they look at Tesla as a car company. And then I would argue the more forward-looking Wall Street analysts will tend to look at Tesla as a car and an energy company, because now they can see that megapacks is growing very fast, and there's a line on the annual report now, and on the quarterly report there's a line, and they report on energy, so now they can see energy, but they don't see AI. And of course, a lot of people on YouTube realize that yes, AI is the biggest play for Tesla, and I actually believe that too. AI is the biggest play for Tesla. Much of the valuation you can probably explain with AI, and the most tangible manifestation of AI for Tesla is, of course, Tesla FSD, and FSD follows an exponential curve, right? An exponential step change. There are step change in FSD, right? It's going to be as good as humans, and then 10 times, and then 100 times, and then 1,000 times greater than humans. And this is going to move exponentially. And yes, Elon has been too optimistic, and maybe I'm too optimistic. Maybe it will only be 100 times better than humans in 2030. But this is a fiction video, so I'm going to say that FSD is 1,000 times better than humans in 2030. And keep in mind, this doesn't make a difference. Most people would probably not be able to see the difference between 100x and 1,000x, right? Order of magnitudes like that. One of the main reasons, of course, why FSD will be better than humans at this point is for the very reason that most of the accidents happen because of human errors. And if FSD eliminates human errors, for example, texting or DUIs, these are human errors. If FSD eliminates that, or fatigue, being tired while you're driving, if FSD eliminates that, it's easy in many contexts to argue that you are multiple orders of magnitude better than humans. And in 2030, I think there will be a heated debate, and I try to have a little fun with this. I try to inspire myself of today's debates, and you could say, pro-choice versus pro-safety. But I think we will have a very heated debate in 2030 about the role of AI. And, I'm coining this term. It's going to be the right to drive versus right to thrive. And you're going to be a lot of people who are going to be like, no, I want to drive my truck. I'm going to keep driving my truck. This is my freedom. And you're going to be over people who are like, well, you don't understand. As long as you keep driving your truck, we can't really increase the speed limits. We can't really do a lot of things that we want to do with our highways and cars following themselves. We really have inefficient traffic signals and traffic lights. And there's a lot of things that we can't do as long as one person is allowed to drive on their own, right? Just like if you still had a horse that was on the freeway, and if horses were allowed to use the freeways, where drivers drive 70 miles an hour, and you have someone who says, right to horse. I have my right to my horse. And they're driving a horse on the freeway, and they're going 15 miles an hour. Right? Not that it doesn't happen in Texas. I've seen it on ranch to market roads in Texas. So I just want to say it's a problem. It's a problem, right? And we don't have horses on freeways anymore. Right, and so the whole question is, I think we're going to have this heated debate: the right to drive versus the right to thrive, in my view. And of course, as most debates in the U.S., and we'll see how it works in other countries, but most debates in the U.S. are going to be decided by the Supreme Court. And in 2030, maybe it will start making its way into the Supreme Court, and it will take the Supreme Court 8 years, 10 years to decide. I don't know. But of course, in my view, right to drive is going to lose because right to drive is not in the Constitution. But I think this Supreme Court having to decide on this and decide on banning drivers is fair by me. I'm very fair. I think this process is very fair because I'm very much pro freedom, and you want to make sure that if you're going to ban driving and ban humans driving, you go through the proper process that safeguards things that are much more important than technology, and I believe freedom is one of these things. So anyways, that's fine by me, but just know in 2030 I think we'll have a very heated debate on this, and this will still take many years. But in the meantime, AI will get better, and AI may get better at predicting bad behavior or predicting erratic drivers. Like for example, take the example of a driver that is tired or that is driving under some influence. Can AI be really good at detecting that? Like, can they detect micro movements in a car that's passing you and say, oh, based on these micro movements, there's a 95% probability that person has had one too many drinks, and thus I'm going to slow down and not get close to that driver, right? Can AI predict bad behavior, right? Also, there's going to be a lot of convergence with weather. Will AI be able to predict hyperlocal weather and then make better decisions, right? Based on the weather and based on how to do it. Like, there's a lot of things that you can do where you adapt the weather to the AI. So for example, tire pressure, right? Your Tesla could adjust tire pressure based on the weather, because some tire pressures are better from some weather and not for others. So there's a lot of things that you could think of that would mitigate the issue of transitioning, the friction that comes with transitioning from right to drive to right to thrive systems where only AI drives, right? And there's other issues that need to be discussed, like cybersecurity, for example. You better hope that the cybersecurity is insanely good with Tesla's FSD, especially if the software is installed on other automakers and not just Tesla. And this is something that I'll discuss at the end when I talk about Tesla AI and the relationship between energy and cybersecurity, and energy and money and AI. So we'll talk a little more about that. So point number one, Tesla FSD, so much better than humans. There will be a debate. Tesla, and of course, by the way, FSD will be licensed, right? That's going to be part of a licensing deal, in my view. FSD will not only will be licensed to other car makers, and I think that will be done as part of a software bundle, and you'll end up with a Ford or a Toyota running Tesla software. So these companies may not be competing; they are very much co-opting. You're both doing a little bit of competition and a whole lot of cooperation. Just like you have Google Pixel, and you can buy your phone, the Google Pixel, from Google, or you can buy a Samsung. But if you buy a Samsung, you're also using a Google product, except you're supporting two companies versus one. But I think that's where the difference is going to be. So companies don't always compete all the time. 21st century companies do realize that competition kills profits. Anyways, then what else do you have? You have Dojo-As-A-Service. So of course, right now NVIDIA is still heavily relying on its GPU cluster. So Tesla relies heavily on NVIDIA GPU clusters for training its real-world AI, but they are also developing their Dojo super chip, which is a highly efficient chip. It's all about the efficiency for Tesla. And I believe in 2030, that chip will be developed fully and at scale. And Tesla will now be able to compete head-to-head with NVIDIA, partner with other cloud providers in providing compute. And so are we going to have a world where you can buy your compute? Let's say you're a startup and you're trying to develop some AI. You can buy your compute from NVIDIA, and NVIDIA, of course, provides compute, mostly partner with legacy cloud providers. It's funny to call them legacy, but I think we'll call them legacy in 2030, right? Google Cloud, AWS, Azure run clusters of NVIDIA GPUs, H100s. They run these clusters, and then the startup goes to Azure and says, okay, well, I want to do some AI training, and then you access NVIDIA through Azure, etc. Will we get into a world where if you want to do a real-world AI training, like let's say you want to drive a self-driving drone or motorcycle or a cooking robot or whatever like that, that's real-world AI. I believe it's very likely that when it comes to real-world AI, Tesla will be the leader. And if Tesla is the leader of real-world AI, you can see that anybody who's trying to operate, an automated lawnmower and an automated landscaper or whatever, if they need to train real-world AI, they're more likely to use Dojo-As-A-Service than, say, Amazon Web Services. But I don't think that's going to change. I don't think the leadership of NVIDIA is going to change for things like ChatGPTs and natural language processing and all of that good stuff. I think it's going to remain, this compute is going to remain with NVIDIA. But the compute of the real world computer, real world artificial intelligence, is a different form of compute than the compute of say, managing wards and organizing wards and doing some sort of recommender systems or prediction systems. And one of the key distinctions, of course, of Dojo versus say a system like an NVIDIA is all about the throughput. The throughput on a system like Dojo is much greater than the throughput on a system like NVIDIA, the throughput and the energy consumption. And of course, AI, right, this manufacturing of intelligence is all about the cost of energy. The more energy you have, the more intelligence you have, and efficiency is so key. That's why if you look at all of these presentations, they spend a crazy amount of time discussing efficiency. The more efficient your chip is, the more intelligence you get for less energy. But I think we can see the convergence between AI and energy. And if Tesla is a leader in electricity and electric energy, they have that platform, that leading electric platform, to power a leading AI platform because energy underlies AI, right? Underlies AI. Okay, moving on. What else do we have with Tesla AI? Well, we have a robotaxi network. This is where I talk about the robotaxi network. The robotaxi network is all about AI. It's an AI game, right? So Tesla AI and Tesla Energy and Tesla FSD will be able, in my view, to lead us to a nationwide super competitor to Uber, Lyft, Hertz, Avis. I don't see any reason why the robotaxi network could not do just more than what Uber is doing, right? What Uber is doing is they're constrained, right? They're constrained to one city. Tesla and robotaxi will not be constrained with one city. They could be entirely able to rent you that robotaxi for a week, for a vacation. I don't see any problem with that. I think there's a lot of disruption that's coming that a lot of people don't see coming with robotaxi. Robotaxis would not replace Uber. They would do much more than that. They would very, very much expand that. So let's quickly talk about a robotaxi. One thing that a robotaxi do, of course, is it would be able to manage fares. Drive a robotaxi. So a robotaxi would drive on its own to your house, drop you off, avoid traffic. Tesla would be able to wisely charge the fleet of robotaxis so that they're able at any time of the day, so you avoid the issue of having to wait for Uber for 30 minutes. You could use predictive AI to have robotaxis in busy areas, like before, I don't know, a football game. You have all of robotaxis move there because you anticipate demand, right? This is a very AI-driven business. But there's one thing that robotaxis enables that Uber and Lyft can't do, and it's long distance travel, right? Robotaxis would enable long distance city to city travel, and this would disrupt and even bring to the US, because this is not very popular in the US, but this would disrupt a lot of long distance traveling, even could disrupt, medium length flights, right? This could really disrupt that, because all of a sudden your robotaxi, I don't know, I live in Texas, so your robotaxi could drive you from Houston to Dallas, in 4 hours and a half, 5 hours. And, that used to be a $200 flight that you needed to take. And now you don't need to take that $200 flight. You can just take a robotaxi and, I don't know, play a video game or watch a movie or walk inside your robotaxi while your robotaxi drives you for 4 hours. And it's highly, highly competitive to getting to the airport, parking your car, waiting in security, etc., 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 getting into the plane. It's so much better. So for any of these very popular plane routes, or in Europe, there would be popular train routes in Europe. Any of these, anything that would have been done between an hour and a half flight, all of these routes could be very realistically be disrupted by robotaxis and these cars that drive themselves, right? Think about the Los Angeles to San Francisco. Right? It's about 6 hours, 7 hours. That's more than doable, right? And what if those robotaxis, of course, have lay flat seats, and you can just lay flat and sleep, right? And the car drives you maybe for 10 hours, a 10-hour drive this time, but the car does the equivalent of an hour and a half flight, and it drives you at night, and you don't have a hotel room. You don't have to pay for a hotel room. You're just sleeping in the car. So robotaxi is much bigger than the disruption of Uber and Lyft, which, analysts, when they say, robotaxis could disrupt Uber and Lyft, that's going to be pretty big. No, it could be bigger than that, right? It could disrupt regional airlines, and it could disrupt trains, trains that Europe is still spending a fortune building. It could disrupt those trains, because all of a sudden, you can just be in your robotaxi, and people are going to prefer being in their robotaxi because they're not going to be with strangers. Right, they're going to be on their own in the robotaxi. Quick aside. I was reading at a survey, like a leading survey in New York City, and it was about what prevents New Yorkers from wanting to take the subway. And you would think, it's very late, it's expensive, it's dirty. No, it was none of that. The main thing that prevented New Yorkers from ever using public transportation was other people's behavior. Like, other people's behavior on public transportation is what is the number one reason why people don't want to take public transportation, is because they don't want to be exposed to other people's behaviors, right? So imagine that. Planes, you're exposed to other people's behavior, right? Someone sitting next to you, FaceTiming, and get ready for 2-hour FaceTime in the plane as we get Wi-Fi in our planes, and our planes are getting amazing Wi-Fi. Imagine doing a 2-hour flight with someone sitting next to you. You're in the middle seat, they're sitting next to you doing a FaceTime for 2 hours. Imagine that. Right, which is coming as bandwidth is coming. So people's behavior is like the main reason as to why people don't want to take public transportation. So this is going to be a tremendous value added, that you can just be on your own in your robotaxi, and your robotaxi drives you for 5 hours, and you maybe watch Netflix for 5 hours, sleep for 5 hours, work for 5 hours, whatever you want. And you can do that because you don't have a driver anymore. And you used to have a driver with Uber and Lyft. Uber and Lyft, you had a driver. And, it was not convenient to take a 10-hour Uber to go out of state, and then your Lyft driver's wife would probably not be happy at all because, they're 10 hours away and you have to get a hotel room now. Anyways. And the entertainment in robotaxi, of course, can be world-class. And that's the obvious one. Like, if people are going to behave in cars like they behave in planes, what do most people do in planes? They watch movies, right? So it's very likely that in robotaxis, you're going to either play a video game or watch a movie or do anything like that and actually not work. And anyways, bigger than most thing, the robotaxi business. Okay, let's talk about Optimus robot and the robot. So by 2030, this is where it gets so blurry because it's tough to know. But by 2030, the robot may be in use in several Tesla factories, and the robot may be very slow, and it may also be used in say Tesla partner factories. I don't have any issue with Tesla running a pilot program, say for example at a packaging warehouse for Pepsi, and you could have Optimus bot do tasks that were previously done by humans at a warehouse. So Optimus robot, was created to attract the world's best engineer because Tesla's AI thing is real world AI, right? It's not natural language processing or creating pictures. It's real world. Their AI is real world AI, and so to attract the best engineers, if you're going to be a real world AI engineer, what's the coolest thing to you? Well, it's going to be a robot. So they gotta have a robot to attract those. And even the robots may not be as good as humans in 2030. They would start to replace low-skilled labor, right? And you could imagine a few of these robots, doing some tasks, say, at restaurants, doing some tasks, say, on factory lines. I also don't have any issues imagining these robots being cut in half. So, for example, for some applications, you could have just the top of the robot be useful. Like the robot is on a burger making line or on a factory line where you make a burger or any type of cooking. You don't really need to have legs on the robot, and vice versa. Like for some activities, imagine a landscaping robot. Say does a landscaping robot really need to look like a human on top? Maybe it doesn't need to look like a human on top. Maybe it can use, well, it would be very scary, I guess, but maybe it could use some other landscaping equipment and instead of having a arm, it could have some landscaping tools, scissors or whatever. It doesn't need to look like a human. It's just that right now it looks like a human because you gotta attract the world's coolest engineer, right? That 19-year-old highly gifted engineer who's gonna be dreaming, 150 IQ, who's going to be dreaming on joining the best company. They're going to work on this. They're going to want to work on this. So that's still the main way. But we start seeing it in factories in 2030. We start seeing it in factories at Tesla partners in 2030. Right? I also could imagine Optimus being paired with a robotaxi and trying to disrupt DoorDash, Deliveroo, Uber Eats. I would have no problem seeing the robot trying to disrupt that. Or you could even imagine a specific robotaxi trying to disrupt that. But and then the question comes: does Tesla's attentional resources are actually spent at trying to disrupt DoorDash? Or is it more like Tesla and Tesla bots do a partnership with a third-party company who deal specifically with those issues? Or could we ever get into a situation where, say, a DoorDash or an Uber Eats simply themselves, for savvy leadership, partners with Tesla and say, okay, we're DoorDash. Tesla, we want to try using your bots. Let's do a partnership. Instead of competing head-to-head, and instead of killing billions of dollars on each side of the business, let's just do a partnership and make money together and actually not kill each other's business, right? That's the modern way of doing business. It doesn't have to be Tesla's attentional resources focused on this, right? It could also be a partnership. And you could see all sorts of Optimus versions being worked on. I could imagine in restaurants like a busboy Optimus or a dishwashing Optimus. So many things. I mean, imagination is the only cap as to what these things could do. But will we be there in 2030? I don't think we will be anywhere close to humans. However, you may not need to be as good as humans if the cost of these machines is just energy, right? If it's just energy, if you're just using excess energy, like let's say you have a robot moving parts from one part of the factory to other, the robot is just carrying a few parts and moving parts. It doesn't really matter how slow the robot is if you're just paying for energy to power that robot, if that makes some sense, right? The robot's just gonna do the job, and it's gonna be minimal cost, much cheaper, because it's just energy. And if you pair that with Tesla energy, of course, and it is the excess energy that it gets from its AI network that is used to power this robot when energy is cheap, then you get cheap labor or nearly free labor. Anyways, last thing I wanted to say about Optimus is that, of course, on Optimus, just like you would on the Tesla car, you're going to have a marketplace for skills, hardware add-ons, etc., being developed. So for example, you could imagine a startup in 2030, and my skill that I'm going to teach the Optimus robot is going to be Mexican food, the Mexican food skill, or the pizza making skill, pizzaiolo. I'm gonna teach I'm gonna be the number one app for turning my Tesla bot into a pizzaiolo. Okay, making pizza. That would be a skill. You're not selling an app. You're selling a skill, and then you can be like, okay, you can have a freemium version of that skill, where your robot can only make entry-level pizza, and then you could have a paid-for version of that cook, and your robot turns into the best cook ever, right? I could easily imagine a platform where skills and skills can be installed on the robot, downloaded from a marketplace, because it's hard to imagine that Tesla would come up with all of the different ideas, but you can have third parties, and this would be another app store-like business that develops on top of the robot. Anyways, let me move on again. Tesla AI, and this is perhaps my most far-fetched prediction, but I don't think it's that far-fetched either, because we know Elon has spoken positively about Bitcoin many times, and even more positively about Dogecoin than Bitcoin. But of course, when you have a leader in AI, and by AI I don't mean the inference part of AI, I mean the computer chips. When you're a leader at making compute chips, and when you're a leader at making energy, if you can make chips for compute, and if you can make energy, then you can turn that energy into Bitcoin, mining Bitcoin, right? So what do you do with excess energy? Well, excess energy is going to be used for its highest demand, right? So the highest demand for energy may be a project that you have with a third-party company who wants to develop real-world AI for, say, a pet robot, and they're paying you a lot of money, and so that's the highest use for energy. Or the highest use for energy may be directing all of your spare energy to California on a day of September in the evening, when PG&E went out for the 20th time in the decade, and they're paying $5 a kilowatt hour. Then in that case, the AI would shift all of the energy towards California, selling that electricity. Or it may be you have traveling season, it's Thanksgiving, everybody's on the road, and the highest and best use for that energy is directing the energy to all of the superchargers, and all of the superchargers get the energy. Same for Christmas seasons, where there's a lot of trucks out. You charge those trucks. And maybe during slow parts of the month, or maybe during parts of the month where cryptocurrency, well, Bitcoin mostly, but Dogecoin too, but Bitcoin prices are going through the roof, maybe the best use of that energy is to direct that energy to mine Bitcoin, right? To mine Bitcoin. There's so many different uses for energy, and Tesla's AI has to direct the energy to whoever will pay the most for the energy. And this is why I believe this is a very logical future for a company like Tesla, who is going to be controlling a lot of energy, right? And so Tesla understands Bitcoin. It's in 2030, I believe they will have resumed the acceptance of Bitcoin as a form of payment for cars. Of course, that'd be a little silly to do, to spend precious Bitcoin on a car, but some people will do it. Actually, this is even less far-fetched than you think. Let's remember that Ferrari a few days ago said they were accepting Bitcoin for their cars. So as more and more customers want to pay with Bitcoin, I believe Tesla will accept Bitcoin for payment, as most companies will. This is a convergence, in my view. Tesla will also likely maybe accept Dogecoin. And some stable coin. Now, stable coins are, they don't require any compute. It's a whole different story, right? It's cryptocurrency. But Dogecoin, very, very interestingly, Dogecoin is proof of work, right? It's just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is proof of work. So is Dogecoin. Dogecoin is script proof of work, and Bitcoin is SHA-256. Proof of work, but they are both proof of work, which means that either you do Dogecoin or Bitcoin or Litecoin, it's going to require mining. So that relationship between energy and money and protecting a network does not exist, of course, with Ethereum or Solana, but it exists with Bitcoin and Dogecoin. Like, people always forget about Dogecoin. Dogecoin is a proof of work coin. I think Musk fully understands the link between decentralization, energy, and money, and also understand why energy is needed to secure money. Because if you don't have energy as a wall of cybersecurity to secure money, then corruption will happen. And then you can just corrupt money and print more money. The reason why the gold standard works so well for millennia is because there was no other way than to work really hard and take crazy risks to get gold out of the ground. There was never an easy way to get gold out of the ground. That's the concept of proof of work. With proof of work, there's never an easy way to make Dogecoin or Bitcoin. You have to work, i.e. you have to spend energy. And in spending that energy, you secure the network, right? And you secure the nodes. And of course, because it's a physical, it's a thermodynamically sound system of protection for money. That's what Bitcoin is, a thermodynamically sound system of protection for money, where the only way you can corrupt this money is by outspending, in energy terms, the size of the Bitcoin network. That's the only way you can just change one transaction, by outspending it. And of course, you can't do that because AI and computing chips move too fast, and you would have to get control of computing chips faster than anybody. So I think Elon Musk greatly understands this, And as he said in the Q3 2023 earnings calls in reference to the US dollar and to US bonds, he said, we'll see how risk-free it really is. Do you remember that quote from him? In reference to how much more money they were making on these bonds that they were holding in cash from the government. Says, we'll see how risk-free it really is. That's because it's not risk-free, right? And of course, he was right on that call, because you had the debt ceiling debate, right? And so that's why the US got downgraded, because technically, if you don't raise the debt limit, the default is there, right? It's not money that's accessible anytime, because you are protected through a wall of encrypted energy that uses 5% of the energy of the world, which is what Bitcoin does, right? Bitcoin uses about 5% of all of the energy of the world to protect the network so that anybody can use the network. And so I believe Tesla could have a lot to offer in this, a lot to offer. Right? Musk in the future may add a mining software on top of its energy-efficient Dojo superchip. And the Dojo superchip can be used for real-world AI, can be used for running their own system, running Tesla Energy. And when the price of Bitcoin is right, or when the difficulty to mine Bitcoin or Litecoin or Dogecoin is low, you could very simply switch the software and get your data centers to mine Bitcoin that day, that moment of the year when you have excess energy, and just turn it into Bitcoin, right? And of course, it's all about using that electricity and managing that electricity opportunistically and shifting it between different initiatives of all sorts. So anyways, that was for Tesla AI. Please note that I have forgotten a lot in this video. There is a lot more to Tesla that I have forgotten. A few things come to mind. For example, the mining and the refining of lithium. Is Tesla going to get in the ore business and the supplying of raw material business? I've forgotten about that. How about their manufacturing skills and their manufacturing division? Tesla is a construction company. Could they construct buildings for other companies, right? I forgot about that. How about carbon credits and being the company that manages carbon and makes a lot of money from subsidies and from the management of subsidies on carbon? I forgot about that. How about Tesla Insurance and Tesla Insurance being launched in various parts of the world? I forgot about Tesla Insurance. Forgot about that. How about the relationship, the privileged relationship that Tesla has with companies, for example, such as SpaceX or such as X, right? I forgot about that. This creates a lot of opportunities, especially for connectivity. There's many things that I've forgotten about. The Tesla phone. Could Tesla ever do a phone? Right? It seems far-fetched, but it is a possibility given that there's going to be a big shift in the phone world, which is we're all going to move to satellite phoning, right? Satellite telecommunications are going to be the main way of doing things. And, if you look at AT&T stocks going up, it's a head-scratcher to me. Because, of course, 5G is not the future. The future is internet satellite. And of course, there's going to be a privileged relationship between SpaceX, right, and either a Tesla brand or maybe it's going to be an X phone. I don't know, but there's a lot of opportunities for the Musk companies. And I could go on. I forgot about a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that I forgot. But I've only tried to make this video, under an hour. So this is why I don't talk about this too much. So my conclusion is, in 2030. How much revenue are we going to get for all of this? Well, it's nearly impossible to say how much revenue we're going to get from all of this, but I'll try anyways, but I'll only talk about the car business because that's all I can talk about. I don't even talk about the truck business, just the cars. I'm just going to talk about the cars. So let's assume 20 million cars are sold in 2030 at a $50,000 average sales price. And you may say, oh, wait a minute, that's higher than what it is today. What are you talking about? Prices are going to go down, not up. Well, yeah, the base price of the vehicle may go down, but the question that I ask is, what will be the FSD take rate in 2030? And keep in mind, that $50,000 price, you can express it as a monthly payment. You don't necessarily have to express it as a one-time sum, right? And even if FSD is expressed as a monthly payment, what's going to be the take rate on FSD? And my guess is going to be most cars in 2030 are going to have FSD. Also, FSD take rate, you're going to see that take rate perhaps on other vehicles than just Tesla, right? But that wouldn't count in the Tesla cars sold. So I don't think $50,000 is that far-fetched by 2030. And I actually think that would be in line with the cost of cars being reduced year for year. I think if we had an average sales price for a Tesla car of $50,000 in 2030, it would actually be much cheaper than what a Tesla car costs today because of monetary inflation, right? Why the channel is named the Beat the Denominator is because of monetary inflation. And if monetary inflation is like I predict, 15% per year, right? And let's be kind, and let's assume 2029 here and not 2030 as far as 50K, right? 15% per year dilution, right? What do we get? We get a $22,000 car of today. So $50,000 of, let's call it end of 2019, early 2030, would be the equivalent of $22,000 of today, because I believe monetary printing is going to be insane and it's going to be crazy. Like, do we really think $1 today will buy the same thing as $1 in 2030? No, it will buy much less. What you get for $1 today, that's going to be 50 cents or 40 cents in 2030. The dollar store is at $1.25. Do you think $1.25 is going to hold at the dollar store in 2030? No, in 2030, the dollar store will probably be $2.50, right? Or $2.35 or $2.15. That's what the dollar store will be in 2030. That's the reason. That's the reason why I think $50,000 in 2030 is not that far-fetched. And so if you have $50,000 in sales times 20 million cars, that's $1 trillion in sales. Today, Apple is a mature company, and Apple today is trading a little north of 7%, 7%, not 7%, 7 times. Today, Tesla has a depressed valuation and is trading at 7 times sales. So let's just assume 7 times for a big tech giant like Tesla. Let's assume 7 times sales. Of course, 7 times sales, the company today is 670 billion. So it will be a $7 trillion company, right? 1 trillion times 7 equals 7 trillion. In 2030, you'd have a $7 trillion company. Today, of course, the company is trading at less than 700, so it's more than a 10x. And that's just assuming this. And of course, I believe the price to sales ratio would be higher in 2030 because the current gross margin is 18%. But that gross margin is only going to grow, in my view. It's only going to increase. And then, of course, you probably got a sense in this video that everything else is worth much more than the core business. Energy is worth much more than the core business. AI is worth much more than the core business. And I don't include the value of anything else in there. So to me, this is still the bet of the decade. This company, in my view, is the bet of the decade. I know this is a story, but that's why I own Tesla. I think this company is the bet of the decade. It is the Apple of our era. And it's the Apple of our era that just got started. And remember, Apple is still a thriving company. In 2030, that doesn't mean Tesla is not going to be as thriving as Apple is today. So I'm very bullish on this company. And I hope this changes from everything that is going on Twitter right now and the short-termism, the insane short-termism that we have going on. Because Tesla is not at risk of bankruptcy. Tesla has $26 billion in cash and no debt. Tesla can finance this future. And that's what I'll conclude the video on. So this was not investment advice. This is just entertainment. I hope you were entertained. I appreciate your likes. I appreciate your subscribes. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.